Folks, as you can see, a different location. I'm not in control. I don't have any snazzy like backdrop. Just a mirror pointing up to the sky, seemingly from this angle. I apologise for being late. This was part of that, but honestly, and you guys know me, I take the blame for most of these things. But Bob's really, he's a true nemesis in that regard. Oh, Bobby, he decided to send me the segment for today at 10:01 a.m. which is very much appreciated. This is not a new studio, to be clear. I'm just on a different spot, but Bobby sent me the segment like a minute before I was about to go, so I was later again. I was just gonna bury him because he didn't do it, but he. Did you get stabbed with a ballpoint? Oh no, I've had that. That's like a chicken pox deal there. That's always been there. Just the lighting is different. I haven't even got the lights on. It's just sunny in Great Britain. So, anyway, let's talk about Dynamite. Let me tweet this link because I'm running behind. We'll still do an hour. I've spoke to the network and we're not going to be out, our usual time. We're going to go 5 minutes over to make up for the difference. Again, I just want all you know you can blame Bob. Please do tweet Bob with direct blame of this. You can phrase it however you want, as long as it includes somewhere, you screwed Holbert, you piece of shit, so on and so forth. So there you go. Overrun indeed, angle incoming. Good shit. All right. So usually these shows have been almost complete Q&A format, as many of you will know. That is probably going to be the case less so today, simply because a big thing I'm trying to do is make the Q&A element a kind of, a Patreon, a grin, so to speak. And with the Bert, we now have 2 of these a week that are almost exclusively Q&A. Granted, yesterday's was completely hijacked by that piece of shit, Jack Crosby. But nonetheless, I'm going to try to produce some original content and not just simply rely on your wonderful questions today. You can, of course, still ask them. If I see something in the chat that's particularly in depth or intriguing, I will point it out and we'll talk about it. But if not, you can always send a super grin at streamlabs.com/late night grin. In fact, we have one waiting for us. It is from Riley, who this was from last night. He said, or this morning, in fact, he said, have no clue if you talked about it in this past week because I'm trying to catch up on the grin content. But what if the Joker is Gargano? Not saying I want him in that spot as the Joker, but Tony might try it and book a Cole Gargano final. So, I don't know if we talked about it in too much detail. I'll just be completely transparent in saying that I think it'd be a mistake. I think Johnny Gargano is a really good pro wrestler. And I think he'd be a wonderful fit in All Elite Wrestling. I think he should be signed, if he would like to be, to AEW. So on and so forth. But I have to be completely honest in saying that I do not think the Owen should be a Johnny Gargano, showcase. I mean, Cole is in the promotion now, and we can debate Cole all day long, but he's super over, and he's been there for now 8 months. Him winning it is no problem to me. The Owen final being like an NXT 2019 match is nuts to me. I'm sorry. And like you can say to that, well, Samoa Joe's an NXT guy or whatever. Samoa Joe his identity is very different to doing that match to me. That's literally the shit you were competing against when you went on TV. I think it would be a mistake. Frankly, I think it'd be nuts to have Gargano come in and beat Samoa Joe to begin with. But I'm biased and I understand that, and people can say what they want, but that's just me. I think that'd be a mistake to even begin. So I have no problem with him being the Joker, but him going far in the tournament, I don't personally want to see it. I also think this part is the Shawn Michaels disciple part is fascinating because it sure feels like Cole's going to beat Dax tonight, and that part's already kind of funny to me. So it's difficult. And again, let me stress, this isn't me doing actually, Johnny Gargano is bad. I don't believe that at all. I actually think he's very, very good, and I'd like to see him in AEW. I just don't think this is the time. I mean, this is the spot. So that is just me. Elliot says Cole beating Samoa Joe in the final. Maybe. I think the Joker's probably going to beat Joe, though. But I could be completely wrong. That is true. The Titan did portray the Joker on Twitter.com. Okay, folks, if you'd like to send in a super grin just like that one, you can do so. Streamlabs.com/late night grin. All support is much appreciated. We try to get Bob to $10 for the month. So there you go. Right, let's pull up the Dynamite card. Tonight's one of the stronger shows. I didn't want to say that, quite frankly, because I actually think they've been consistently strong for about 2-3 months now. I want to say that, last week was the weakest I thought in the last, in that stretch, and I still thought it was solid. Tonight is immediately back to the stuff we've seen before last week, though. Immediately back. He's definitely got more aggressive as a booker, and I think the product has benefited from it in terms of sheer quality. So, let's start with this. Chat, I ask you this most weeks. Let's do this here at the top. And by the top, I mean 6 minutes into the program. What are you most looking forward to tonight? My guess is this is going to be a somewhat divisive question. I actually think there's like 5 matches here, dare I say 6, that could be answers to this. I'm intrigued. We have over 40 people here. I'm interested. What for you guys is the standout on tonight's show, and then I'll see the consensus and kind of go from there. Got some love for Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm. Deepest wish for the Joker is Omega. That'd be something, wouldn't it? Omega and Samoa Joe is just like an impromptu tournament match. That would make the Owen feel like a big deal. Dax versus Cole. Bobby says Punk Silver. Damn, he is about as wild as I expected. And even Elliot says the contract signing, which, yeah, that's fair. Danhausen versus Tony Nese. My God. Tony and Jamie. Yeah, I kind of assume this would be the case. This is a show, it doesn't have an obvious answer, but I don't think that speaks to a lack of quality. I think it speaks more to the depth of what's on here. Like, it's absolutely stacked, honestly. I'll start with my pick, which, as I look at this, I think is the FTW title match. Ricky and Jungle Boy, which could main event. I wouldn't expect it to necessarily. I would assume they'll go with Darby and Jeff, honestly, if I had to guess. Ricky and Jungle Boy is a really interesting one in that it's 2 of my favorite younger guys, and I understand there's an age gap there, but what I really mean by that is guys that I want to see pushed in the next 2-3 years. And it's a fresh matchup between 2 personalities that as of 3 weeks ago hadn't interacted, and here they are. Jungle Boy is a babyface I still very much believe in as a potential top guy. I understand that there are some reservations about promo. I think he's improved on that already and will continue to. So, I'm high on Jungle Boy. The tag title run, I think they've done everything asked of them in the ring. I know, like, I've had my kind of issues with them just generally as champs. They don't feel like champs, but I think in ring they've done everything asked, and Jungle Boy's been great. So this is a really cool opportunity of getting back in the singles situation. I say that knowing full well the last time they did it was him and Kyle, and it was not a home run. This may not be either. I don't know. Time will tell, but I'm pretty bullish on this being pretty damn good. Ricky Starks feels like in the last 2 months, he has like leveled up and began to take all these different pieces that we've talked about for a while now and really piece them together. Now, in fairness, a lot of that's opportunity. I think he was, obviously because of injury, he was sitting the bench for a while, and, doing commentary and all that stuff. But I truly believe that when Ricky's featured and when he's active, when he's healthy, I think he can be one of their top guys. So this matchup's an interesting clash of guys that are kind of high up on my big board. In terms of result, my guess is that Ricky wins here. And my guess is that Ricky wins here. And then, next week they keep the tag titles. I don't know if you can hear that drilling, folks, but I'm having to. I don't know if you can hear that. Tell me if you can. Yeah, that's my guess. That this is a chance to get Ricky a win before they lose the tag title challenge. So that's fine with me. But I think the match should be really, really good. And I think, it's a clear main event candidate, even if maybe not on this particular show because there's so many options. So I'm into that one. I'm intrigued, though. Where are you guys at in terms of prediction? As I said, I have Ricky tonight and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus whenever they do the tag title match, whether that's on the pay-per-view or wherever. But I'm intrigued. What is your prediction? JR going the opposite way around here. He says, I think Ricky loses and they put the tag titles on Team Taz. That would be really something. The thing with that is, I don't know what that looks like. Jungle Boy as FTW champion, Maybe you like circle hook into it. I don't know. That's the one thing that's kind of I want them as tag champs, but I just don't know if we're going to get Jungle Boy as FTW champion. Riley says, so do you think it's Jurassic Express versus Team Taz at the pay-per-view and FTR versus Red Dragon at the pay-per-view also? I don't think it's Jurassic Express Team Taz at the pay-per-view. I think Swerve and Keith are going to do the blow-off with... I think Swerve and Keith are going to do the blow-off with Team Taz either on the pay-per-view or on the week of. Probably in like a street fight because they've heated it up and, they cost them and you can kind of do that whole deal. So... I don't expect that pay-per-view. FTR Red Dragon feels like a decent guess, especially because you could advance that tonight with the Cole thing, which we'll get into very shortly. But, I don't know, because the other thing is, where do the Young Bucks fit into this, right? Very, very interesting. And as Lena mentions, you could do a triple threat. I assume meaning, well, you could do it with FTR and Red Dragon, or you could do it with, probably wouldn't actually, as Red Dragon of wrestled best. So you probably mean Swerve and Keith and Team Taz, right? I have to say that, and let me stress again, I'm all in, all the way in on, the tag champs of Team Taz. I love Hobbs and Starks. I want them on the show as much as possible. But I will say that, I do worry a little bit about getting these tag belts on track. And I do feel like we may be ignoring the obvious fix of FTR, which could be done like at the pay-per-view, and I wouldn't be surprised. It feels like a slightly weird fit, and it's a babyface match, and it isn't natural necessarily. But FTR and the Blackpool Combat Club for like the ways to actually get these belts back where we want them as main event prizes, That's just me. I'm all for Hobbs and Starks. The more that I think about it, it's like, I don't know. It feels like these belts need kind of, not saving. They're not in like a terrible spot, but I just want them to be true main event prizes, So that's where I'm at with the tag belts. But again, back to this. I'm very, very excited for it. Genuinely, I think it should be very, very good. I don't expect it to be anything like long or expansive. I think 10 to 15 minutes and we'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Okay. Up next, let's just bounce to the... let's do the Owen stuff last. CM Punk John Silver is intriguing in that last week they clearly positioned Hangman as not a heel by any means, but he kind of poked the sleeping giant there in terms of the personality of CM Punk. He had been playing nice. He didn't even say that he certainly can beat Hangman. He just said he's going to give it the best shot he's got. He's going to keep fighting until he can't fight no more. And Hangman's response to that was basically, go fuck yourself, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, which that's one way to approach it. It popped me. I think it popped all of us. It was very different than we expected. But when you follow that with, Punk going to Long Island where he's already been booed before, and I think there was probably a belief he would get booed regardless because they established, like he actively goaded them and did an MJF promo in MJF's hometown. But then you book him against Silver and it's like, okay, that is no coincidence. CM Punk is going to be by default a heel tonight. He just is. The question is, to Alan's point, how much is he going to ramp that up? Is he going to be the heel that is actually wrestling as a babyface and simply is a villain in this particular setting? Or are we going to get some old school heel CM Punk? And obviously he's got the natural underdog to work against. So it's very interesting in terms of how they play this, because there's certainly a scenario where Hangman makes a save and, runs off CM Punk in Long Island, and it's like he feels like the clear babyface. So it will be intriguing. Mad Dog Stuff says this, and I know Jack said it yesterday on the Bert. I think Hangman was clearly trying to convince himself more than anything last week, and Punk will jump on that for heat tonight. I agree with you that was what they were going for, and I agree Punk will tap into that in his promos. All I would say is you have to be very careful how you portray that. And what I mean by that is Hangman still has to be the clear protagonist and sympathetic in that regard. If Punk basically just exposes him as being a guy that's saying stuff he doesn't believe, and you don't correctly layer that in terms of what that means for Hangman's character, I do slightly fear that the CM Punk fans in attendance last week will just be like, you know, they'll just shrug their shoulders at it as if to say, what does that matter? I think you need to frame Punk as manipulative if you're going to go in that direction. You need to frame him as being someone that's kind of seizing on a vulnerability that he sees. But you have to remember when you're telling this story that Hangman was the one that struck first in verbally. So you have to portray it correctly in a way that firmly repositions him as the babyface. If you're going to do that particular story, if you're not, then it doesn't matter. But that's just a very kind of a minor thing. But I think the details matter when you're dealing with these kind of personalities and these kind of fan bases and such. Punk and John Silver as a match itself, I think we all agree should be excellent. Again, I don't think you're going to get like a 20-minute match or anything, but I think they're going to obviously have time. And, I think this will probably open so they can start with cold personality as they are prone to. Silver, it feels like we haven't seen him on TV for a while. I know we have. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff, but he has not been central in the way that he felt for a little stretch there. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing or wrong. It is what it is. The roster's stacked. But this is a big spot for him. He's now wrestled, Danielson was his first match in Long Island for AEW, and now CM Punk, which is nuts. Speaking of such, WrestlePurist.com, we had an interview with John Silver, which you can check out. Very good stuff. It's a big, big deal for him. I have no doubts about the quality of the match, but I have to say that the intrigue here is very much the portrayal of CM Punk, as the away wrestler, so to speak. How far do we go in terms of him being the villain on this night? We're going to do the It's Bizarro world shtick, or is he going to just be an asshole tonight? We'll find out. I'm very intrigued. I think this will give you a good clue as to where they're headed at the pay-per-view, which remains the most interesting thing in the whole promotion, to be honestly, just on possibilities. Tope Suicida has posted the link. That's why he's a mod and gets paid the big bucks. Okay. Let's do the other non-Owen things. Okay, so we have 3 matches in the Owen. The last match that is not, save the best for last, Danhausen and Tony Nese. I'm actually surprised this is on Dynamite. I was pretty confident this would be a Rampage thing, the way it had been throughout like its whole existence, it feels like, right? This has mostly been Rampage. Their pre-tapes and vignettes and their, in-rings have been on Rampage. So I was a little bit surprised. But in terms of looking at what they got here, they want to give everything time. This won't take as much time, and I guess we'll add some sort of variety to the program. My assumption is that Tony Nese is dominating Danhausen, and then Danhausen makes a comeback, and you do the sell of like, oh shit, the heel may have actually got himself in trouble here. Embarrassment may be ahead. And Smart Mark, out of panic, kind of does something, helps Tony Nese win. That's my guess. Then afterwards, you have the heels put the boots to him, and Hook makes the save, and he's been reluctant, but there's limits, right? So that's my assumption. The big thing here, and multiple people have already said it in the chat, says I'm glad it's not just me, because I didn't want to say it in a way that sounded like cynical or doubting, but sure is interesting, like how over Danhausen actually is in this setting. I think we all agree that he's going to get a huge reaction. I'm confident that when he comes out, he'll get a reaction, and the crowd will want to like the match. What I mean is, how does that translate to like if they do 5 to 6 minutes of pro wrestling? I have no idea. I really don't. My kind of gut feeling is this is all going to get over and go great, which could age badly, but I'm pretty confident it's going to do fine. Again, worth noting, I've liked all of this stuff, and a lot of people haven't, so maybe I'm biased, but I think this is going to go okay. I am still a little surprised that it's here. rather than Rampage, but hotter crowd, fresher crowd. I can't argue it until I see what it is. So that's my prediction finish. Folks, do you think I'm nuts? Is Danhausen just going to win this? He's going to hit his finish and pin Tony Nese clean in the middle. What do we think's happening here in this one? I didn't ask for Punk Silver because you get what you get. When we all know the deal with that. So I am intrigued, though. Does anyone think Danhausen's just going to win here? Or are we going to get a situation where what I laid out happens, but Hook showing up allows Danhausen to beat Nese? There's a couple of different ways you can go, but I don't know. It feels like, considering why Danhausen's over, it feels like it's a chance to give Nese something, even if it's very, 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 very hollow. But that's just me. I think Danhausen may win by roll up. So in that case, that would probably be like a scenario where Hook maybe would distract or do something, right? Yeah, I think you can do that. I think I'd go the other way just to give Tony Nese the television win, but I think they're going to do the tag match eventually, right? That feels like what they're actually going to do, which is hilarious and will make people very mad, but I'm for it. So, okay. Contract signing. MJF, Wardlow. I am very, very intrigued what you guys think these stipulations are going to be. Now, I hadn't considered it before, but Shoot said it to me, and I kind of immediately clicked for me. The handcuff deal, you've established that in a way where it would not surprise me if he's handcuffed during the match. I understand that would be somewhat kind of, I don't want to say un-AEW, but it would be limiting of the match in a way that may be kind of too old-fashioned, frankly. But he did say it, and it did kind of pop me, so I thought I'd bring it up. This one feels like the most likely to me. And Elliot said it too. Powerbomb being banned feels like one that's like you can do it without completely kind of, I don't want to say ruining, but limiting the match they can have. And you can use it as a storytelling device and tease it and all that good stuff. But the other thing is, and this is a key kind of part of this, is it isn't just, it feels like we may get stipulations for him to get the match itself, right? Like, I do wonder if you may get a Cody Rhodes-esque deal here, and someone said this in our chat last week, I think, of like, to get the match, you have to. In the contract, it says, before you get to this match, you have to do this, that, and the next thing. So I think that's all on the table. I like this. Leland says, I think he's just going to powerbomb him 10 times post-match in that case. That would be great. But I think the one I'm most confident on is the powerbomb being banned, which is kind of like the equivalent of when he banned Jericho's Judas effect, as well as Judas the song at one point, but both, right? Yeah, I think that's something you're going to get, and you can kind of have Wardlow almost like baiting him. MJF kind of like baiting him into it and stuff. It could be fun. This program has been absolutely electric so far. It's the actual, like I said, I'm most interested in Punk Hangman from a booking nerd perspective, but like in all seriousness, this is clearly their hottest program in terms of what they've actually done. Good brother at Backup Hangman, Hollywood Hangman Adam Pearce on Twitter, who was on the Wrestle Purists podcast with me last week, said something that I agree with. And it's something I've kind of alluded to, and I think we've all kind of talked around, which is this is probably Tony Khan, thus far anyway. You got to stick the landing, but this is probably his best achievement as a booker so far. Wardlow was a completely clean slate, and you could genuinely argue that as of right now, he's the most popular babyface in the territory, which is a feat when you look at the lineup of babyfaces. But week to week reaction, he may actually be topping the charts. Again, there's more things going into that. I understand, but week to week reaction, he's in the conversation. And when you consider how long they told this story over, it showed immense patience, and the way that he used the Punk finish to lead straight into this, like, this is one of his absolute, his biggest hits thus far. It really, really is, which is interesting. And we've talked about it a million one times about some of the things that I am not concerned about, but I'm intrigued about when it comes to Wardlow kind of just existing as a main event once this program's done. Because MJF I've said something about MJF, and there was times, especially when he was feuding with Pillman, and even at the start of the Darby thing, where I was frustrated with like the low hanging fruit deal. But there's one thing that I think we can all agree on, which is his programs always connect. His programs always stand alone in terms of content, and like I really do I really do think you can't be understated how valuable MJF is in terms of getting a babyface like this over. The big thing is what happens next, but that you can't worry about that right now. Right now, this feud is killing, and the question for tonight is, how does Wardlow come across if this is a real back and forth promo segment? Because Wardlow cut that excellent in-ring promo on the week after Revolution, I would say it was, where he told his story and kind of explained why he felt the need to take the money and all that good stuff. And it was like it wouldn't have been out of place in a wrestling studio in 1985. And it was like, okay, Wardlow can talk, and we kind of assume that anyway, and he has a certain personality and presence and charisma. But unless I am mistaken, in chat, please do tell me if I am, but I do not think we've seen him do like, a true back and forth in center ring. I don't think we've seen him do that on the microphone. I'm not sure he'll do that tonight, honestly. He may just sit there and be real mad and be containing himself. I don't know. But if he does go back and forth with MJF on the mic, it will be interesting how that looks and how that comes across. Wardlow has a genuine like cool guy factor. Seeing how that kind of looks in a more traditional promo segment with the top heel it's just interesting. So this stuff's fun, man. It feels like we're learning more about Wardlow every week. Last week he did a moonsault. 2 weeks ago he did like a fucking Rana. He's absolutely killing it right now. So this is the latest kind of box to tick, I guess. Okay. Before we do the Owen, before we do Jericho, as many of you know, at the half an hour mark of this program, I will be playing a clip. I'm now going to check to make sure that clip is actually there and exists because I was rushing. It is there. I do want to comment, though, quickly on this. Because yesterday, Bobby had a lock. I believe it's called the Bobo lock, which is interesting. As you didn't see yesterday's show, it was behind the paywall. Bob runs you through the night's sports schedule and gives you just one selection to put your money on. Now, he does say be responsible, right? But he tells you this is my lock. This is my Bobo lock. And Tobe Suicida, to his credit, is apparently seemingly going to track this. And yesterday, that piece of shit Bob O'Neill, his lock was that the Miami Heat would beat the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I'll be honest, you guys. I completely agreed with him. That did feel like a lock. I did not see Miami Heat losing 3 straight games. However, I do think that in light of recent allegations that Bob is actually very wholesome and kind, I wanted to just kind of bring to light the fact that I gave him a segment on the world-renowned Bert, and on the very premiere segment, he immediately lashed out about my National Basketball Association team. So I just wanted to kind of bring this up to point out that while he may be nice to you guys when you see him at the airport or when you hand him your 8x10 and he smiles, takes a picture of your kid, waves, all that stuff, there is a sinister side to Robert O'Neill. And if he's watching this now, I think he would admit. If he's bothering in the chat, just say I admit it. That'd be appreciated. All I'm saying is don't trust him. If you follow him and he follows you on social media, I would suggest be very careful what you tweet because he could dunk at any given moment. I've seen it, okay? I've seen friends receive one of those dunks. It never feels good. There's always a lot of fallout. So, folks, as we lead you into the great, I don't even know what this segment's called, the Bert line? The Bob line? I want to just reiterate this, please. Anything Bob is about to say, we do not, co-sign. He is one man with one hat, with one set of opinions. Here's Bobby's latest, folks. Please enjoy.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. This is Robert O'Neill with the Bert Line Update. Just going to focus on the NBA and NHL playoffs today. In the NHL, got 3 games tonight. Pittsburgh and the New York Rangers Pittsburgh will look to close out the series. They're up 3-1. Capitals and Panthers are tied at 2, and the Stars and Flames are also tied at 2. Moving to the NBA, we got 2 games tonight. Milwaukee heads to Boston to try and take a 3-2 lead, and Golden State heads to Memphis to try and close out the Grizzlies and move on to the Western Conference Finals. Your lock of the day, I like Milwaukee. Thanks, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. This is Robert O'Neill with the Bert Line update. Just going to focus on the NBA and NHL playoffs today. In the NHL, got 3 games tonight, Pittsburgh and the New York Rangers. Pittsburgh will look to close out the series. They're up 3-1. Capitals and Panthers are tied at 2, and the Stars and Flames are also tied at 2. Moving to the NBA, we got 2 games tonight. Milwaukee heads to Boston to try and take a 3-2 lead, and Golden State heads to Memphis to try and close out the Grizzlies and move on to the Western Conference Finals. Your lock of the day, I like Milwaukee +5 against the Celtics. Lock of the day, 1-0 so far, so my reputation's on the line here. That's all for me, though. We'll see you tomorrow.
Guys, I was laughing so hard at that voice break that I began to like fool around in my chair. I was so excited about what I'd seen, and my mic was here, and I hit my mic, and it somehow played the video again. I didn't even intend to do that. I waited till 40 seconds for that. God, did you see? Look, here's the thing. It happens, right? You know, when you're a high-level broadcaster like Bobby, sometimes the voice goes, and you have to kind of power through. But there was a moment there, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a distinct moment in Bob's eyes where you could actually see the decision of, do I just do this again, or are we just going to keep going with this? You can see it. You can see the doubt. Clearly, his decision was we just keep going. He took a big, deep breath and slowly got back on track. I don't actually have any idea what he said because I couldn't listen after that. I was too busy laughing, but hope you took note of his lock. And that is a daily segment, Bobby. This is on the air. We shouldn't do this in front of people, but pro tip, I think you should probably try and get these done the night before so we don't have this emergency situation where you send it to me when the show's about to start. But that's just, one grin, face and ace his opinion. So, anyway, let's talk Chris Jericho. The Jericho Appreciation Society is penciled in, locked in, I should say, for a victory speech. This really has big angle alert vibes. The question is, I'm going to start with this and chat. I want you to answer. Are we getting Eddie Kingston tonight? Because that will decide what the rest of this looks like. So, chat, first question, just yes or no. Are we getting Eddie Kingston tonight on Dynamite, or is he still going to be nursing those scars? He did threaten Jericho on Rampage. It feels to me like we're going to get him, but I'm just intrigued before I go any further. There you go, chat. Basically, Cedar's got the odds in the chat. I actually want to stress that, please do be very responsible when betting any money, but especially when you're following Bob's lead. Bob wears some of those losses. So, okay, so we all agree that King's going to be there tonight, right? He threatened him on Rampage. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I wasn't insane. Okay, this is important for a range of reasons. Because what does this mean in terms of the long-awaited backup that we have been kind of mulling over here on the famed Late Night Grin platform? So the reason I ask is because if Eddie wasn't there, you could do the angle we've all kicked around where someone helps Santana Ortiz that King does not necessarily co-sign. You probably assume what I'm talking about, but that was the idea. Considering we all believe Eddie's going to be there tonight, do we even get the said backup? Or is it just a babyface attack and the pop here is that Eddie Kingston's back after 1 week off? And listen, people will pop, it's Eddie Kingston. But man, it feels like this is the time, doesn't it? I mean, you have just hit that now over and over and over again in terms of the numbers game. They're outnumbered. They have no chance while they're outnumbered. So on and so forth. And it just feels to me you need to make that shift and do whatever you're going to do, because it feels like you're going to do a 10-man at the pay-per-view to me. And again, I know what Dumping can say they're free, but it just feels like that's where the direction is. I don't see why they would do a 6-man when they've already done that on TV and the 2 guys at ringside helped, So I feel like we're going to get something tonight. I want to stress, because it's important, that does not necessarily mean a debut or new signing. It could just be guys that are on the roster. I don't necessarily know who. I'm sure you could talk yourself into a couple. But, I think there needs to be some numbers added to King's side. So that's just me. We can talk about who that is. Obviously, this name, I kind of referenced it earlier. And, Claudio is a really interesting one. He certainly works better, though, I have to say, under the prior thing of him coming in when Eddie wasn't there and Eddie kind of coming back to this mess. That's my one hang-up on that. This feels like the most likely to me, but I'm half... I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle here on the latter name. Listen, bless Hernandez. He had his limitations at the best of times, but I have a lot more faith in a declined, beaten up Homicide kind of pulling out some stuff for this setting than I do Hernandez. So I don't know if that's where I would go, but they did reference them on TV a while back, and it does make some sense. Here is the big X factor that we talked about a long, long time ago. Both Chops and I always fuck up. I don't want to say shoot name, but good brother here. His name on the screen. I never like to give away folks' shoot names. Remember, folks, I have all the, when you're a patronage, you're merely at the mercy of the late night grin, Have a whole list, send it to Bobby, make sure he investigates, so we have only the top human beings of our world supporting the late night grin. But anyway, speaking of the top human beings of the world, back to Homicide. So, the Blackpool Combat Club we talked about a long time ago, where do they fit? Okay, Will and Chops both said it. And I've always been intrigued by where King fits in this Blackpool Combat Club deal. And when you think about the fact that the Sports Entertainment Society, whatever they're called, Jericho Appreciation Society, when you think about their whole identity as being like anti-pro wrestling, it sure feels like it's close enough that with the King part, you can easily overlap. But this feels like the other thing, and Shoot said this to me before. That team's almost outrageous at that point, right? I know it doesn't really matter, but I don't know, man. It's like that would kind of be outrageous. I really am kind of at that point where it's like, I need to just see it now. I do not know. I think that Yuta being in Japan for the best Super Juniors is interesting in terms of what they're doing at the pay-per-view, because it means they're either going to wrestle for the tag titles or they're going to be in this, honestly. So, kind of makes some sense. The Danielson part of it is the kind of X factor to me. I actually think it would kind of be illogical for King not to recruit Mox at this point. We've seen that story play out on TV. The guys that fought alongside each other there for the tag titles and against... Actually, when all this Garcia 2.0 thing started, they were fighting alongside each other. So, that was some time ago. So, Moxley makes a lot of sense. I do wonder if we get something a little bit weird, where he kind of goes off and does his own thing and it pisses off Regal or Danielson. I wouldn't be for that personally, because I think there's such a new act. You don't want to kind of do any sort of dissension. But I'm trying to figure out how I would present such a thing where Danielson's into this idea. Because him and Eddie, lest we forget, they had 1-2 promo segments, but they were pretty heated. And he was very dismissive of King. And I do not know if that hurts or helps this when setting it up. And what I mean by that is there's a part of me that wants to see the promo where King, convinces him based on, what they stand for. We may not like each other, we're both pro wrestlers. Fuck these guys. Sports entertainers. But, I don't know how natural a fit it is. That's all. But if it happens, I'll pop. I have no issues with it. I'm just trying to kind of piece it together in my mind. It's also a way to properly turn Blackpool Combat Club heel with best intention. They get fucked off with King losing focus or doing self-destructive shit. This is the other thing, is that's why I'm struggling a little bit to piece it together. The Blackpool Combat Club do feel like baby faces to me right now. And Will agrees, says turn them. So it kind of is logical, right? It kind of is. Maybe this is the answer. Maybe we talked about this, genuinely talked about this months ago. And then we kind of went around in circles and we talked about Homicide and Claudio and Chris Hero, and maybe the obvious answer is in front of us all along. If it is that 10-man, I think you got to do blood and guts, right? I think you have to with that lineup. I mean, I think it'd be a waste to just do like a crowd brawl street fight. I mean, you got like multiple all-stars in that deal. So there you go. Excuse me, don't have an ad. Please step forward. Daniel Bryan does the yes chant, not the American Dragon Bryan Daniels. He's made that very clear. He wants to respect Kevin Dunn's intellectual property. So, just speaking of intellectual property, here's the Bert here. I hope the logo is not too familiar. Danielson and King main event the last time for the pay-per-view. The stip is if King wins, Blackpool Combat Club will join him. If he loses, they don't. King loses, but it's such a close and hard-hitting match that Danielson joins. Well, now that is something. That's very, very interesting. And that is an incredible television main event with real stakes. Honestly, the kind of TV booking they generally don't do, not for better or worse, just they just don't. I kind of love that. I have to say, I kind of love that. And it kind of builds on the idea of, you got to bleed with them first and all that good stuff. Interesting. Would Regal feel like a bit of a spare part as part of this angle? Possibly. It all depends on what I was kind of alluding to. It's a good question, Alan, but I think it really depends on what oh my God. I think it all depends. I hope you can still hear me. I think it all depends really on where Danielson stands. Jesus, wet. I should tell these people around here that there's a wrestling podcast going on here. They don't have any respect for this. So, if Danielson is in on the idea because he wants to beat up the sports entertainers, then Regal can kind of just be like, he would kind of be a spare part, honestly. If Danielson's not in on it and King is trying to convince him, then you have saying in terms of Regal being the guy who kind of sways Bryan. Eddie cutting the promo and Danielson shrugging his shoulders at it and not being moved by all, but Regal actually being completely on board and being like, he's right, fuck those guys. That's where you can kind of get him in, and he can be the motivation for Bryan to do it. Because he could co-sign King in a way that Danielson never would have before, because they've got their issues. You don't think he take it seriously and stuff. But I think either way, whether they do this now or not, I think the thing that's really apparent to me, and I pitched saying on the Grin last week in that regard, with King going and training with Regal and stuff, it's very apparent to me that at some point that's a story to explore, where Regal stands on that, and you have like King's between those two guys, and they're a team, but Bryan's got his history with Eddie in a negative way, and Mox and him were a literal tag team before Mox went away, so it's very, very interesting. I'd love to see how you could kind of position Regal in that regard. Okay, Jack Crosby has sent me a text. I don't know if he's going to try and hijack this show. Tony Khan confirms that AEW will be returning to Arthresh Stadium in Queens later this year. Jack Crosby sent that with the caption of, hell yeah. So he's fired up about it. And there you go. It's not a surprise. I mean, I think they want that to be like their MSG, right? They want to be like their big home base, or maybe their Georgia Dome, whatever the hell. Okay, let's move forward here. That was a long segment on that. We have the Owen match to talk about. You may be going long, folks. I have to call ESPN. Okay, so the Owen matches we have Jeff and Darby, Tony and Jamie, Cole and Dax. All right. Let's start with the one I'm least interested in. And it's one I'm still interested in. Jeff Hardy, Darby Allin. This is a dream match for a lot of fans, not a minority by any means. I think a lot of people are really into this as like a generational clash and a dream match situation. I'm not one of those people, but that doesn't mean it's not a real thing. It happens, right? I'm into weirdo matches no one cares about. But I have to admit, my real interest here, and this is one of the nerdier things I've said, but it's the truth. What is this going to look like? You know? I'm intrigued by how you format and structure such a match. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some sick bumps and stuff that makes you kind of question the sanity of both men. But at core, these are two guys that will often give their opponent bulk of the match, and they'll bump and they'll sell. Now, at this point in his life, Jeff does more of the latter. The bumps have, he's few and far between, but he still does some crazy stuff, obviously, as we've seen in his month in AEW already. So, both these guys can kind of sleepwalk their way through a match on TV. Jeff less so now, but even still, I think the Bobby Fish match, a lot of people were very upset about, but I thought it was fine, honestly. He's so over, he can just sell and be okay. But here, it's like, it kind of feels like Jeff has to take the bulk of the match, right? It kind of feels like that's where you have to go here, because Darby's the one that still takes the crazy bumps and still is the guy who, in terms of pace, can keep that kind of feed going. I just don't know where I'm at on what Jeff can do in that role. I really, really don't. This is something I'd thought about. Demon Green brings it up right on time. The idea of, like, when he was kind of a top guy in WWE, he put some like power offense in there. And I agree with you. Like, Darby's so light, he can bring that stuff back. I just don't know how compelling it will be if it happens for a long time. It kind of feels like they should just go there and just throw bombs. And by bombs, I mean like just their coolest, weirdest moves. Just slam them together and and I hope the crowd's into it, as I think they will be. And I do, to be clear, I do believe the crowd will be way, way, way into it. So it'll be interesting. My main kind of route of, I don't want to say investment, but I want to see what it looks like in terms of physically what they actually come up with. And I do think it's an important match for Jeff. I had no problem with the match with Bobby Fish. I know a lot of people did. I didn't. I genuinely, and you think you guys know I feared the worst. But I do understand that, like, if you're a big Jeff Hardy fan, you want him to be performing at a certain level, and that may have been disappointing. This is a big one. This is one of the main matches that people wanted him in AEW for. It's in the Owen Hart tournament. I think if you don't get something good here, you can be a little bit concerned or alarmed. I personally am confident it will be good. It may even be very good, but I actually personally would be surprised if it falls short of good. Again, our definition of that can be different. I know that Jeff is very much beaten up and struggling. It's Darby Allin in front of a hot crowd, assumingly. So I think it'll be good. What was with that Darby promo last week, by the way? Is it reaching at all to say Darby might not like Jeff? I don't think that was it. From what I can gather on the road too, they kind of told the story of he's like being an inspiration. I just think that was like someone overthinking the wrestling promo. It was really strange. Like, him and Sting both look so uninterested and bored. I don't know. It was a weird deal. Okay. I'm seeing here looking at the chat, there's some different takes. Yeah, I agree. Just give him 10 minutes and hope for the best. Pack some craziness in there. Darby's going to work as hard as he possibly can. I assume JJ asks is a good question. I assume we've all got Darby right. Chat, put your prediction in the live feed, live chat, live comments. But I feel like it would actually be like a genuine mistake if Darby didn't win this match. That's just me. Where are we at? Darby or Jeff? Like, I don't want to be dramatic, but it'll be some TNA shit, quite frankly. Jeff's a major star and a major name, but like, Jeff talking about how he's worried about the Tope pop me. God bless. Okay. Maybe the Bucks cost Jeff. That would be interesting. Like, ruin the dream match. I think that'd be a little much, but I don't think it's a terrible suggestion. I could see it. Yeah, I think everyone agrees, but this This is Darby's to win for sure. I think it would be a mistake. Okay. Let's move over. On the same side of the bracket, Adam Cole, Dax Harwood. A match that I think everyone agrees will be very good, but I have to admit, as someone that struggled with Cole's work a little bit, I am really looking forward to seeing what Dax does with him because I enjoy Dax. Like, he's so watchable. He's wrestled multiple, like those tag matches they did on C shows when they were getting ready for the titles and they were building up. He would be compelling to watch against anyone. So I don't mean that's a slight, Cole. What I mean is I'm looking forward to like being excited about and enjoying an Adam Cole match. Been a while for me because I'm bitter about it. I'm hateful, as you know. So I'm excited for this. There is a weird dynamic to like the Bret stan, the Hart family stan, probably losing. But that same dynamic makes it less predictable and has convinced people that Dax can win this match, which, hey, he could. I don't know, right? You could certainly do a deal where Cole, as the center of his faction, is kind of losing his mind. I haven't got any, I clearly haven't got a problem with it. More than that, I think it could be compelling. So I think that's on the table. I just believe it when I see it, folks. Unfortunately, I think Cole's winning this match. I'm pretty sure of it. The placement of this is interesting. It could be the main event. I think easily. Big thing for me is I want this to be as good as I believe it can be. I want this to be great. Frankly, chat. Who we got? Dax Harwood or Adam Cole, baby? Demon Green says it could see a story of Cole losing all the big ones in AEW. That's interesting, right? And if on the other side of the bracket, O'Reilly beats Phoenix and advances, you could even do something with that of like, you didn't even go the furthest of the Undisputed Elite guys. So that's interesting. But there is people are a little split on this. Would be cool if the underdog Dax made the finals versus the Canadian Kyle O'Reilly. That'd be interesting. There's some love for Dax. It'll be interesting. I don't know. Cole, but another notch for Dax. Top 10 rest for the year case he's building. Good point. Oh yeah, I think it's great. I mean, this sounds like backhanded, but with this roster, I'm glad he's in it, and it got us the cash match, which was a big deal. So yeah, I think Cole's winning. I would rather Dax win, but I also think Cole should win. That makes any sense whatsoever. I kind of think he should go to the final here, or saying that Darby being on the same side is interesting. We cross that bridge when we come to it. I've got Cole tonight. Dax should win every match he's in, even ones he's not in. There you go. Good stuff. Agreed. All right. Finally. Oh my God. I was hoping to end this like Q&A stretch, but I've just been talking for 53 minutes. 51 minutes. I played Bob's clip twice. Tony Storm, Jamie Hayter. This is a big deal. They have done legitimately 4 backstage segments for this match. Granted, they were all very brief and kind of hollow and throwaway, but they did them, which I'll take what I can get in that regard. The tag match on Rampage, a rewatch Rampage on Sunday, was even better than I first appreciated because I was doing some editing stuff, so I didn't get full of that show. And that match really was really strong. And the big takeaway was, and all the women performed well. But Jamie Hayter honestly was she was honestly the strongest performer in the match, I thought. Which is, in that lineup, is impressive, I think. Now, I say all this to say that, Tony's going to win, right? Tony's new. I think it makes sense for her to win, and I haven't got any problem with it. But I do wonder. My guess is that Tony beating Bret last week on Rampage was because, you want to protect Jamie before she takes a loss on Wednesday. But I am intrigued by a potential upset here. Nonetheless, let's talk about the match itself. This should be physical, right? It should be a slugfest. I remember Jamie having a match on TV with, I want to say her and Rosa had one in I want to say January, maybe. I don't know. that was like really rough and physical and almost brutal with some of the strike exchanges. And certainly, I think this has the potential to be exactly that. It's a big match for Toni Storm. And look, it's a big match for both women. All these matches are big. Obviously, it's a pointless statement, but I do think this is a big one for Toni because I think Toni Storm's going to win this tournament, and this is one that has some hype behind it. People are into this matchup, so this needs to both be over in the building, and in terms of sheer quality, it needs to be where this tournament wants to be. We all want this tournament to be great, right? I think it goes without saying, like the Owen in general, but the women's side of it, I think it's really awesome that they're doing this, and I want it to be killer. Like we all do. I've had some takes in the past about what I believe to be Toni's in-ring ceiling, and you guys know that's not like the end of the world to me. It's whatever. But I do think with some of Toni's other deficiencies, is like she's not a great promo or anything. I think can be a problem as an overall package. However, the way she performed in the tag match, I'm increasingly confident this is actually going to be really, really good. Really, really good. So, we shall see. But this is a big deal for Toni, who I think is going to win the whole thing. And you want to just get this thing off the right foot, man. You want to immediately hit the ground running. And hopefully this is a standout match that the place is in too huge, because I think it has the potential to be. And Mad Dog says about the bracket being open, the wide open, the women's tournament. The tournament is strong. Like that's a strong lineup they put together. The Joker will be interesting. But even if it's like I don't say throwouts, but what I mean is even if it's someone who's just going to lose to Britt, I think we all agree the lineup is strong. I agree with the belief that it could be Shida versus Toni as the final, which again, confident that'd be good. My big thing is like, and I'm trying to phrase it in a way it doesn't. I don't want to do that thing of like pressure's on now, don't let anyone down. Like fuck that, that ain't what I'm trying to do here. But I do want to kind of frame this as the best way I can. That like it's a big deal for Toni. It is, because I think they want it to be one of the very top women in this division, and I'm really hoping that it finally clicks for her in this spot, and she finally feels like she's maximizing her potential. Tonight we'll get kind of a good look at what that is. Chat, who you got on this one? Toni or Jamie? I'm intrigued if there's any upset picks. I don't think it's impossible. Jamie's certainly a player in that division, but I think the majority is going to be with Toni. I'm pretty sure. Who we got, chat? I'm intrigued. Will they present the tournament matches any differently? Pink ropes. I would love them to. I think it'd be a big win if the tournament had its own presentation and felt truly separate. I'm not too confident that'll be the case, but let's hope so, Alan. That'd be good. I see one pick for Jamie. The rest, it seems, my heart says Jamie, but my mind says Toni. Yeah, it feels like most are in the same spot as me in terms of like Toni's gonna win, but I don't think any of us will be totally shocked if Jamie did. It feels like it's Toni's match to win. Okay, folks, I appreciate you joining me today. I'm sorry I was slightly late. I didn't want to have a TEW situation with the wall behind me falling through, which was a hilarious show, by the way. You can watch that at latenightgrin.com. It killed the territory over there on TEW Tuesday. But here's the deal. Tomorrow, there is a triple header. The Bert is on again at 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Great Britain. And it is going to be the Dynamite review show, okay? You get what you get. Hopefully the show's great and we can have fun. If it's not, we'll have less fun, but still fun. But that is tomorrow at the usual time of the Bert. Then, I believe, 6 p.m. Eastern, Jay, Shell, and Oracle are going to do the Divas Deep Dive. Then Oracle will come back again at 8 p.m. Eastern to do the Historical Oracle. That is a triple header of 3 shows. I will, to make up the difference and kind of balance things a little bit, do something on the paywall this evening. We will maybe do a grin along of sorts before Dynamite on latenightgrin.com. Okay? So, that's the plan for today. Pretty quiet day. Maybe I'll do something with Purist too. I probably will, in fact. So we'll figure it out. Keep updated at latenightgrin.com, and I'll post it when I know what I'm doing and what we're doing. But we appreciate the support. If you would like to sign up, you can do so for just $1 mere. latenightgrin.com. There are no tiers, just grins. And I feel like I'm forgetting a big plug. Am I supposed to do like a... I don't know. Watch Dynamite, I guess. Hashtag ad, right? I guess. Yeah. JJ's right. The Dynamite review link is already up. So if you want to go and like that or whatever and help the algorithm, like this one. That's a good point. Like this one too. Good stuff. All right, folks. We seriously do appreciate it very much. Thanks for sticking with me in my new location. Demon Green, the Silver interviews over at WrestlePurist.com. There's the audio, and then it's like, row up to, so you can either read it or listen to it. Indeed, Dynamite, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on TBS. Please help out on the viewership side of things. Apparently we need that now. So, by the way, also, everyone watched Rampage on at this early time. You guys are really letting me down with that viewership. We need it to stay at 5:30. Come on, it's good stuff, man. Millions watched it over here. Anyway, thanks, folks. Appreciate you all. And I'll have something else later tonight. But in the meantime, enjoy this outro. Wow.